This standing chat is hosted by Humbleworks, the original designers and manufacturers of quality, ergonomically designed standing desks and related products. We'll be speaking with Dr James Levine, the authority on the benefits of standing versus sitting. So moving on from last week's episode where we touched on NEAT, can you tell me a little bit more about it? Because from my understanding, it's about the calories we burn when we're not seated and while moving about during the day. Is this right?
India, you don't need me at all.
Okay.
I'm out of here.
I absolutely do need you.
So, NEAT is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It's the calories we burn every day during our daily activity. So it's not exercise, but just as you say, moving around throughout the day. What is really interesting, everything's really interesting. What is particularly interesting is that even if you take a sedentary society like here in the UK, where measurements were performed in 574 people with lots of different jobs, there is variability in the calories you burn without going to the gym throughout your day through NEAT, non-exercise activity. There is 2,000 calorie a day variability. So if somebody, if you like, has a very active job, maybe it's a postwoman or a postman, versus somebody with a very sedentary job working behind a computer screen all day, one person can burn 2,000 calories a day more doing their daily activity than another who's very sedentary. Now that's critically important if you're trying to help people, because what you see there is a window of opportunity whereby we can go into offices where people are sitting throughout the day, sitting at home, sofa-based, whatever it may be, and we can actually help people get up and move, and we know that we've got 2,000 calories a day to play with. Now listen to this is even more fascinating. When we discuss this idea that society has become so sedentary, what is absolutely fascinating is that you can compare this type of society we all live in with an agricultural society. And we perform studies using the famous magic underwear in Jamaica, in an agricultural community in Jamaica, in Kingston, Jamaica, the capital, and we compared the data to office workers working in the United States. Listen to this, what we found is people with normal agricultural jobs are sitting half the amount of time compared to people living in Kingston who have sedentary desk-based jobs. They are walking twice as much. No gyms, just normal jobs in an agricultural community. And that included not just people who were working on the banana plantations, but also people, dancers, teachers, educators, and so on and so forth. Normal people, normal jobs in agriculture. Working and sitting in offices in Kingston halved the amount of walking people did. Now what's fascinating, as you might say, well, we don't live in Kingston, Jamaica. What is absolutely fascinating is that people with office-based jobs in Kingston, Jamaica sit just as much as lean people with office-based jobs in the UK or the States. And those individuals sit 2.5 hours a day less than people battling excess body weight in the UK or the United States. So you have a huge spectrum. People with obesity are seated 2.25 hours a day more than people who are lean with similar office jobs. Even when you look at people who are thin in modern office-based societies, they are seated 2 hours a day more than people who have agricultural jobs. Now what is, you might say, well, we're never going back to agricultural societies, that's obvious. That's not the point. The point is that the human body has the physiological capability of moving hours a day more than we're used to, without harm, without ill effect. That's what we're designed to do.
We're not meeting our potential, I guess, every day.
Perfect! We're not meeting our potential. That is exactly right. And that's why we're doing these podcasts, is to open the doors to explain what potential we have. And what is important is, without breaking a sweat, without putting on any lycra spandex, you can get up and move 2 hours a day more than you're used to. And the implications for your health and your body are phenomenal.
Amazing. And are you able to briefly, in layman's terms, describe to me the brain science behind NEAT?
Well, I mean, the first question you might ask is, briefly is the problem. The question you might ask is, well, hang on. If you've got people working in an agricultural community, walking 2 hours a day more than people who are lean in offices, and they're walking 2 hours a day more than people with obesity, what's it got to do with the brain? It's obviously environment. But what is absolutely intriguing is that, in fact, there is a biology too. And in the same way that there is an environment causing massive fluctuations in the amount of movement we do, there is also a brain science at work causing massive fluctuations at the innate movement of the human body. It starts in the most primitive part of the brain, the medulla. There is this incredible deep pulse at the base of our brain. It's slow and it drives. It's almost like the internal clock, not just for our movement, but for our heart and even our thought patterns. It's incredible. As you go up the brain to slightly more modern parts, if you like, at the hypothalamus, there are all these tiny areas within the root of our brains driving the amount of activity we do. And these pulses of activity are driven by a whole series of chemicals that stimulate the human body to move, or the human body, in fact, to relax and sleep. Remember, sleep is a critical part of human health as well. And there are chemicals inside of our brains that are naturally moving us through active cycles and inactive cycles. And the problem with environment, with the society, is that it has taken these natural impulses to move, these natural fidgets to be active, and suppressed them. And that's why we're sedentary. But the innate drive of the human body is to be up and move.
And obviously, there's so many health benefits that come from this, which I know we're going to dive into in the future. So,
the health benefits of getting up and moving are astronomical, and it's a story for another day.